Hello everybody, welcome back to the layout. It has been quite a while since I released my last video. It's about 3 months ago. And the reason for that is not a lack of progress, but more that there have actually been a change of plans regarding the layout, and will be getting back to that later on. So regarding the progress, what I've been working on is this scene over here. So the plan was to build up a mountain landscape with some mining industry. So I have been building tunnel portals. So one of the portals you can see here, and then there will be another one on that side, which is almost finished, standing here. I looked at building up a road, like a hairpin curved road up the mountain, and then over here there will be mining activity, and for that I have been building this ore bin, which is almost finished. I still need to model the chutes over here, but that's what I've been up to. However, as I mentioned, there have been a change of plans regarding the layout, and that is that I will be moving the layout to another room. In practice, that means I'm gonna tear down this layout here and build a totally new one in another room. So the plan is to use as much from the current layout or reuse as much from the current layout as possible. So I still want to model a mining scene, so all of this or most of this can be reused. Turning this side, I will be modeling water and a harbor scene. So the buildings here can be reused, and I also want, obviously I want to reuse the bridge here. In addition, I'll also try and reuse as much as the mountain modeling that I've done over there as well. Okay, so let me explain a bit further about the why and the how. So the main reason for moving the layout to another room is essentially what you see in front of you. The layout room is actually combined with my home office space. So this corner is layout and that corner is work. So whenever I work from home, I'm sitting in this corner in front of the screens, but I always have this kind of mess right next to me. So whenever I have a day working at home, I need to clean the desk, and it's just not practical. And so the other reason is that if I zoom out a bit and move out of the room, this room is next to our kitchen and the door is always standing open. So whenever we have people over, guests, they always look into sort of a messy room, and it's just not ideal, and especially my wife doesn't like it. And so we have decided that I get a different room that I can use for the railroad modeling hobby, which I will be showing you right now. So the room that I will be getting for the new layout is downstairs, and we are currently using it as a storage room, as you can see here. So this is the room where I will be building my new layout. The story with this room is that the previous owners who built this house, they had a golf simulator in this room. So hence the big screen on the back wall. and hence the high ceiling. So as I said, we are using it for storage. We've been living here for 4.5 years, and it has been used as storage all that time. So we have 2 cupboards there, and we have some shelves where we store shoes, skiing equipment, lots of stuff. But there are also quite a few boxes that have been placed here after we moved in without ever having been looked at or used ever since. So it's about time to go through all of this and yeah, clean it out essentially. So there's another smaller room on the side here, which is essentially storage, food, but also tools and stuff. The dimensions of the room, they are, so the width is 3 meters 26 centimeters, and the length is 5 meter 20. So it's quite a sizable room. And so the plan is we clean out everything here, but we leave the cupboards over here. So that means that I need to leave a little bit of space to get in front of the cupboard, cupboards, and so essentially the layout will be built in this corner here. The way I have looked at it now is that I'll be able to get 3.5 meters in length of the layout and about 2 meters in width of the layout. So that's a somewhat larger space for the layout than I have now. So yeah, quite happy with that actually. I will be designing the new layout in the software called AnyRail. But I thought before I would start doing any designing, there would be a good idea to make a list of the requirements that I have. And so that's the list that you are seeing here. Let's go through the points one by one. First of all, I think given the still limited space that I have available, it is wise to just settle for a single main line and not try to design something with a double main line. It will result in too much track work. I just don't have the space for that. And I want to also leave space for modeling scenes, putting buildings, etc. So I'm going to design something that has a single main line. So then the next requirement is regarding the minimum curve radius, and I have set 20 inches for now, which is 51 centimeters. And the reason is that I think that is sufficient for a sufficient number of locomotives to be able to negotiate these curves. So I have a little bit of freedom in buying different types of locomotives in the future. Then I also want to model some sort of an urban area with houses and roads and shops. So I want to have a bit of space for that. The next point is about modeling a harbor scene or a waterfront scene. Some time ago I purchased the kit called Red Hook Wharf from Foscale Models, and I want to incorporate that diorama, if you like, into the new layout. I have been modeling a lift bridge, and which is on the current layout, and I absolutely want to reuse the lift bridge again. Next point is I would like to model a station area. And then next to that I also want to model 1 or 2 industries. And that means that I should actually also be modeling a small yard. So the yard does not have to be large. It should be, so the line of thinking is that if I would model 2 industries, I would need 2 yard tracks. So that's sort of the thought that I'm having, but we'll see how it will work. Then I love modeling mountain landscapes. I love looking at mountain landscapes. So that's I want a large part of the layout to be mountain landscape. And then within that mountain landscape, I want to incorporate the mining industry that I started modeling already. And so my thought is to be modeling that along a branch line. And then the last point there says a possibility for staging. And the thought is that there may be the track going off into staging under the layout, that might sort of serve as an interchange or give the illusion of an interchange track. So those are the requirements that I have so far. Okay, so then let's have a look at some design ideas. So what you see here is a map of the new layout room. I have written the dimensions on the right hand side here. So as I mentioned earlier, the room is 5.20 m by 3.26 m. On the bottom right we have the entrance to the room, and then more to the left on the bottom we have the row of cupboards, and in the right hand corner we have the door to the smaller storage room that I also showed you. I'm thinking that leaving 75 centimeters in front of the cupboards should be enough of a space to have sufficient access to what's in the cupboards. And so that would mean that the width of the new layout would be 1.90 m as indicated here. Furthermore, I also intend to have a small workbench, which is positioned here on the top. And if I place it like this, then that would leave me with a length of 3.50 m for the new layout. So the total dimension of the new layout would therefore be 3.50 m by 1.90 m. Okay, so I will be working from this area, and so my first idea for the benchwork was to place it like this. So essentially make a U-shape layout. So I will have benchwork of 60 centimeters width along the backside, and then I could have benchwork with a width of 1.20 m on either side, and so that would give me quite a bit of space in the middle. The advantage of making a design like this is that you would not need to have some sort of a swing gate or a lift bridge or something in order to get into the layout, if you like. Now let's have a look at what kind of track plan would be possible. And again, assuming a minimum curve radius of 20 inch. So something like this would be possible. But yeah, I'm not sure how much of the requirements that I have I would be able to put into a layout in this shape. For example, putting a station area that would have to be done on the backside here, but it would not leave a lot of room for a yard, and it would not leave a lot of room for a mountainous landscape either. And then we also have the Red Hook Wharf diorama. So the dimensions of that is 40 by 90 or thereabouts. And then so the question is also, where would I have to leave that? So I'm not sure whether this is would be a good design to have it in a U shape. So therefore I came up with another idea, and that is to make the benchwork like this. This is also a U shape actually, but it's more stretched. And in this case I could have a loop going around, but that then obviously would require a swing gate here. So again, track plan, minimum radius of 20 inch, 51 centimeters, that would still work. And as I mentioned, I would require a lift section here or a swing gate. But what would be possible is to have a station area and a yard with some industries next to that. So that could look something like this. So you would have a station here in the lower part, and then one industry here and one industry more on the right, that you get access through by these tracks here. And then we have Red Hook Wharf. I wasn't quite sure where to place it. Alright, so here is my first thought about the placement of Red Hook Wharf. One possibility would be like this, to place it all the way on the left hand side under a bit of an angle, and then that would allow me to model access to 2 tracks on either side in this fashion here. But as is indicated by AnyRail here, the radius of these curves here are less than 51 centimeters. So that might be maybe a little bit of a problem. But what would be possible in this case is that here I could model my harbor scene, and I could also place my lift bridge on this curve here. So that would fulfill a number of my requirements. And then I think, here I modeled still 2 main lines. So the outer main line, the outer loop, would allow for a sort of a runaround track around the station. And then in the upper part here, I would be able to model a mountain landscape, and then have a point here from which I would be able to have a branch line. But as I mentioned, and as you can already see, this results already in quite a lot of track. And so this was actually the point where I decided to not have a double main line, but to go for a single main line. Okay, on to a next idea. I'm still thinking about this lift section or the swing gate that I would have to model in the previous example. So I tried to look at options for benchwork so that I would not need to have a lift section. And it could actually be something like this. I think in the upper part it would still be possible to model a station area, but for all my other requirements, I'm just not sure whether this would be an ideal solution for the benchwork, and then ultimately the track plan that I would be able to realize. So not sure about this one. So if you have any thoughts on this or suggestions, I'd be happy to hear those. And here is another variation of the previous design. Still a design where I would avoid having a lift section. And in here I placed the station area that I've shown you earlier on. So I guess this would actually be an option to model it in to design the new layout in this way. I'm just not sure what to think about this design solution here. So again, if you have any suggestions, I'll be happy to hear those. Okay, so going back to the stretched U-shape design plan. Again, I've shown the station area. I've made it a bit longer, so now I would have a track of 1.30 meters. And I've also placed a line here which will be a scene divider. And so then I can start drawing in a couple of things that were on my requirements list. So first of all, a yard. I could place a 2-track yard in this area. That would give me a track length of 85 centimeters. I could model the Red Hook Wharf diorama in this way. So that would give me quite easy access on either side in this way. So 2 tracks on either side. Over here on the right, I would be able to model my harbor scene. Again, I can place my lift bridge here. And if I would extend my benchwork in this way, I could add another industry in this area here as well. So to me, this looks like a very nice option. So far, this is my favorite option. So then I can draw a loop like this, a single line. I can make a branch line like this, and then so the entire backside of the layout would be mountainous landscape. So I can work with some curve, with some track elevation here. My mining industry could go in the upper left corner here. So I think that would all work quite nicely. I could then add a track like this, going through the scene divider, going under the benchwork, and that then could at the same time act as sort of the interchange. And that would also allow me to model an urban scene with roads and houses and shops. So I think this track plan would actually work quite nicely. And the other thought I had is that if I would need a little bit more space on the layout, I could add 10 centimeters in front of the cupboards if necessary. And then on the inside I could also add 10 centimeters if required. So at the moment this is the design that I like most. If you have comments, suggestions, ideas, please let me know. I'll be happy to hear them. Thanks for watching.